Hey, what's going on, you guys? This your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, representing my squad as always. I know that this one is overdue. It was supposed to be uploaded around the time of nationals, but I actually uploaded a lot of videos. Well, not uploaded, but recorded, and I'm slowly uploading them here and there. This one actually, I think the first recording got mixed up, and I couldn't really differentiate between it and another one, and I thought it was like a Zefra profile that I already uploaded, so I had to redo it. But this is the build that I took to nationals, which was roughly two to 3 weeks ago. I went X-3 at that event. I got 18 points. The sad thing about it was all you needed to make it to day 2 was 19 points. So if one of my legitimate L's would have just been a draw, I actually would have went to day 2. But ultimately, I performed really well at the event. Even my losses were very close. This build was probably the best build that I've played thus far. It was so one-sided every time I got to go first, especially when my plays went uncontested. And my Trickstar matchups were like the freest matches of my life. I never realized how easy that deck is, like just to play against, to beat. I mean, it's so fragile. It really doesn't play through anything. Like, it doesn't. There is no going second for Trickstars. And then, like, when they go first, they have, like, no real disruption. They just have, like, reincarnation, scapegoats, maybe a cyclone and some hand traps. Like, it's just such a just cluster of fragile cards. The freest matches ever were Trickstars. My losses were to Altergeist, who got to go first with Anti-Spell, and then Game 3, open Anti-Spell. I did not have a red reboot, but games 1 and 3 open with Anti-Spell, very one-sided. I did not draw into a Dragon Shrine or Foolish. I did not get a Zefra Providence because I could always set it, get Zefra War, and use War to pop the Anti-Spell. But I didn't draw any of my my 7 outs. Well, 7, 8, my 8 main deck outs. Well, I have to count the Purple Poisons too. There's 10 main deck outs to Anti-Spell, and I didn't draw any 10 of them either games. So that was just fair. You know, he had the Anti-Spell. But without the Anti-Spell, he wasn't really going to beat me. Like, that's all he really had. He didn't even have Multi-Faker one of the games. And then I lost another time to Burning Abyss. It was a really good game. I ended up ultimately, what happened? Yeah, I ended up losing because of the difference in, like, life points. Like, you know, when they call time and it's, like, the final turn, like, it was his turn for 7 minutes. And I was just, like, kind of pissed. I'm like, you're playing BAs, bro. Like, you really weren't doing much. He's playing like a net deck version of the BA variant at top. So he revealed 2 BAs. He summoned Dante. He milled some cards. Then he revealed his Star Beast. He burned me, and he burned me for the Farfa that he drew. And then he made Beatrice. He pondered on his hand for a very long time, and then he didn't pass turn, but he transitioned to battle phase. He went into battle phase. Everything on my board could not even be attacked over. Like, he couldn't swing over anything. Like, literally, he could not. And he had already played through my negate. I only opened. He drone lockbirded me. I only had 1 negate. He played through that. Ultimately, he went in the battle phase, wasted like 2 minutes. They called time in the round in his battle phase. And I was kind of curious, like, why he wasted time in the battle phase, knowing he couldn't attack over anything. But then I realized, like, I wasn't paying attention to the time. I didn't know it was this close to 0. Like, it was like 3 minutes or less when in a battle phase. If I would have realized it, I should have called soul playing a while ago. But I lost to him because of the difference in life points. And then my final loss was to Gym Knight FTK. Shout outs to the man that played that deck and beat me. It was totally fair and square. He got to go first and FTK me game 1, and game 3 he got to go first and FTK me. I did not have an Ash or a Droll either game. It was totally fair. I shook his hand. I was so happy because that's one of my favorite decks. That's a deck that I topped with myself. So those are my losses, but other than that, it's pretty much Trickstar and Goki Planet. I beat every Trickstar player and every Goki player that I ran into. A couple Goki matchups were a little tough, but I ultimately just beat them. I think 2 of them I just made Chao Feng and 1, and the other 4 were all Brick Stars, and I beat all of them. First, second, it didn't really matter. And all of them were 2 O's, ironically. But here's my list, you guys. So we're playing 3 Zefra, my Anger Translator. This is the best skill, like, in the game, honestly, in my opinion. Not only does he load your extra deck to allow you to get more pressure on the board, to give you more link summon resources, more fodder. He nets you that negate and that extra 26 body, but he also modifies his skill to be high or low. So he is the best skill. You kind of just, you can live without him, but you definitely would prefer him to be one of your skills every single time you're setting yourself up. He's an amazing card. Honestly, he is the best Zefra because he will get you to your searcher engine, which is 3 Zefra Neo. Now, Zefra Neo searches for any Yang Zinger Zefra spell or trap, but spoiler alert, there is a Yang Zinger Zefra spell or trap. Well, there's a Zefra spell or trap that searches any Zefra card. So if you think of it, he searches any card in your deck, and then the field spur adds any monster. So no matter what, he's gonna give you any card you need that lists Zefra or Yang Zing, which is really awesome. He has 26 defense. This card allows me to go into my level 9 synchros with ease. Like I said, Chao Feng made with Earths really did do justice against Gokis. They really could not do anything. I mean, I think the first guy I played didn't even know how Chao Feng worked because he tried to build his chain links when he went into a Soul Day because he played Instant Fusion, then he summoned the Kabalabala Warrior or whatever it is, and he normal summoned Octo Stretch. Horrible normal summon. He goes into a Soul Day and he calls his chain links. I'm like, Octo Stretch can't activate. He read the Chao Feng, so he's just like, it's Soul Day. I negated her. He passed. I OTK'd on the next turn. This card is just really good. And it also nets you what I consider a plus because you got to think of it. This card pays for itself in more ways than one. And then once it leaves the field, it will net you a free card. So on summon, it grants you a search. And then if it gets destroyed, it grants you another search. And then not only that, it's a vicious booty. I mean, it's a wall. It protects you. So when you search your 9 pillars with this, not only is it paying for itself, but you're netting that negate that forces your opponent to take a neg and generates you an additional resource that you really did not have to stress too much for. It falls in your lap. So these cards are just amazing. These are the only Zefras that I've made that are at 3. And then we have the Zefra 1-ups. I mean, honestly, guys, this is the best Pendulum deck. It really is, no lie. We have Thubin. These are basically your spot removal, not board wipes, but spot removal. They help you to maintain the control of the board presence throughout the progression of each and every duel. He can plop face-ups and he can plop face-downs. What's really awesome is these cards are level 4s that have those built-in capabilities. Just being able to pop any face-up card, you got to think of it. This is like a spell speed 1 Dryden. It's not during either player's turn. You can mask your chain links because they are on summon. So if you pendulum summon more than one, you can build your chain links appropriately so that, you know, if it's not a Veiler, they can't negate it. So these cards really help me a lot. Even when I'm trying to push and I need to get certain things out of my way and I want to make sure that that face down's not this or that and the other, I normal this guy, baited out a strike, and I was like, if I didn't hit the strike with this before I pendulum summoned, I would have lost my entire pendulum summon and probably lost a duel. So these cards, you will fall in love with them as you kind of like, they'll shine, you know, as you play different games. You'll realize that these are some MVPs of your deck. And having searchable spot removal is amazing. You have basically 3, 6, 9, 12, 14 copies of these. If you count the terraformings, there's 17 copies of these, including themselves. They're amazing. And then we have Zefra Windy, the only main deck Zefra that is not a hard once per turn. You can normal her, grab a Zefra from your extra deck, and then blink, pendulum summon her, grab another Zefra from your extra deck. I normally use her to protect my chain links from Ash Blossom, stuff like that. She really does help out a lot. And then we also have Zefraxi. I only play the 1. I find that I don't need anymore. I played 2. I've never played 3, but I have played 2. Every time I resolve this card's effect, it goes to the bottom of the deck. So you would only play 2 for the namesake. You don't really need to play 2 because you want to see it. You're never going to not see, you know, any of your Zephyrs. This deck has higher searching capabilities than even Trick Stars. Trick Stars literally have just the Terraformings, the Light Stage, the Candinas. And then what? The Engages. That's 12 really good cards. And then if you count the Hornet Drones, that's 15, right? Zephyrs have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Plus the set rotation is 19. And then you have to factor in that you're playing Pendulum, so you have Electrum to boost your consistency. You have Dragon Shrine, Fool's Burial, net you those advantages. I mean, like, this deck is way more consistent than Trickstar Sky Strikers, put it that way. So you really don't have an issue with seeing your 1-ups. This card is absolutely one of the standalone MVPs for a lot of my duels. This made the Chao Feng for me. This helps me to play around a lot of different card effects, especially when you're trying to master chain links. It helps you to go into pretty much any synchro in your extra deck, and it'll always go to the bottom of the deck, so you can always search it out. And it's that low scale that will always be there for you. And then we have some turbo cards. We have triple Chronograph Sorcerer. Chronograph was always my favorite. Even when Astrograph was legal, I've said it in every video and I never stop saying it. Chronograph is the best one to me. He not only allows you to play through Disruption, any cards that, you know, especially like Twin Twister and stuff like that. If you know, like when you activate a monster effect and then they negate it and destroy it, you can reveal the Chronograph. One thing that people fail to realize is you can't use Chrono or Astro if they negate the activation of a card, because if they negate the activation, you don't control it. So it doesn't play through that kind of disruption, but it does help you to keep your board presence stabilized, and it also allows you to generate a lot of free bodies on field for you to OTK. And it's always allowed me to make board load. Just making Electrum and sending this, I can always make a board load just in a pinch. This card's just amazing. It helps you to make Naruto. It's an Electrum Turbo card. It does so many different things. It's such a flexible card. Chronograph is just amazing. And then we do have 3 Master Service as another Electrum Turbo card. And it does help me to OTK. This deck is super aggressive. It normally sets up a board that's pretty hard to break turn 1, and then turn 2, it contributes all of its vast resources into producing a board presence with over 8,000 damage. And he really helps you. Even banishing monsters is clutch, especially one-ups like Lilybell. When you think of BAs, if you're able to banish the Sir, if you're able to banish a Dante, stuff like that. Just his banish ability, it allows this deck to have a lot more spot removal that doesn't always have to destroy. You can just banish stuff now, and it gains the attack, so it's just a huge monster. Then we have 2 Jackal Kings. I normally drop Jackal King every turn 1. I would make it my goal to drop a Jackal King next to every other negate that I make, because I like that Jackal King, just Candina can't beat it, and I would love to save the Jackal King for the Candinas and or the Isolde and use my counter traps for more threatening stuff, because counter traps are kind of generic negations that can negate spell trap or monsters, whereas this is limited to specifically monsters. So I would normally dedicate a couple resources to getting this guy on board. If I can make 2 to 3 Electrums, one of them would be sending him, unless I already had the Cerberus. I never really got greedy, especially games 2 and 3. I never summoned like double Jackal King or anything like that. And I would normally keep my monsters at 2. Like one time I had Vortex and Jackal King plus a 9 Pillars and a Zefra War, and I had Ash Blossom in hand. That was enough to just stall the entire turn, put them at 1 card in hand, have them scoop. But you don't want to really be greedy with this. But game 1, yeah, you can be greedy because nobody's really main decking Spirit Mode. And then we have 2 Dark Worms. And you also have to keep in mind that these cards really help you going second. This deck does not really struggle going second at all. So we have 2 Dark Worms, the Sexy Secrets. I love this card because it pays for itself just like Zefra Neo does. I love cards that replace themselves with a good card, not just a random card, a good card. And Gate 0 is definitely a good card. It's the best skill in this deck, minus the Zefrath. My goal is to get Gate 0 and Zefrath so I can virtually summon anything I want. And there's no restrictions. There's no specific cards that can't be summoned. And you can just empty your whole hand if you want to. I really like this card. And one of these is dedicated to a combo that makes Calamities. You go into X-Saber Gothams first, you rip a card, you know what you're playing. You make Calamities, you set up your counter traps, and you're good to go. And then some more spice. I do play 2 copies of Purple Poison in the main deck. I had a lot of good theories and reasonings behind playing this. I've actually been playing this in the main for I think like several months, over a couple by now. And it was because I knew that Alter Guys could be a thing. I was scared that people would be main decking Floodgates like Anti-Spell, especially with Sky Strikers being meta. You know, Anti-Spell's like a meta call, really. I needed those main deck outs because like I didn't want to lose a game 1 to a Floodgate. I didn't want to have to side. You know what I'm saying? So I really wanted to steal those wins. This does help me in more ways. One, it helps me to be aggressive, to OTK. It also provides more spot removal. So when you're going second, you have a lot of options in your arsenal. You have Cerberus, you have Chrono, you have Zefra Thubin, and Zefra Saitan. You have Purple Poison. You have all of your ways to make Destrudo. I mean, you have a lot of flexibility for going second. And I think the clutchest tech card of that event, of that weekend for Nationals, was a Morphage Sloth. I never ever lost a duel when I put this guy on board. And it's such an easy one-of. I main decked it instead of siding it because I knew that it would still win. I never lost a duel. I beat Gokis because I already had Chao Feng, but then I had this. One of the 2 Gokis that I played, I opened this plus Chao Feng, and I had Zephyr Divine Strike. That was just too much already. He couldn't go into his extra deck, and then he couldn't even use his monster effect. And then I had to negate if he did have like an Evenly or a board wipe. This card is amazing. What it says is neither player can special from the extra deck unless it's a Morphages. And it's a 2250 body. It's a level 6. But more importantly, it's a Pendulum. So what you do is just make Electrum, send this to your extra deck, and then drop it on the field. I normally would grab it from the extra deck to hand so I can make all of my other extra deck monsters first. And then Pendulum summon this guy out. because he restricts me as well. But I never lost a duel, and I felt like this was the best tech of the weekend. I don't even know why Pendulum decks aren't playing this at least as a one-up. It's just so good. Extra deck is like every good deck in the format right now is so reliant on its extra deck that they actually cannot progress their game state to even be threatening until they go into their extra deck. Gokis cannot play without their extra deck. Twist Cobra Beatdown, don't even talk about that. You can't. Especially not against a deck like that. That's the best option they have. Twist Cobra Beatdown. But it doesn't last. It's fragile. Trickstars cannot win without a Scapegoat or Hornet Drones. They just can't win. They can't do Lily Bell OTK with Firewall or anything like that. They're literally just... Their deck's already full of vanillas, but now you're playing brick vanillas. So this card is just amazing. It beats Burning Abyss. It beats any meta deck that you can think of right now. They all need their extra deck, especially Sky Strikers. You know, like... If they can't go into Shizuku or Kagari, they can't really do anything. And I understand that there are cards that can kill this card, but I'm playing Zefras, my friend. I make negates like it's my destiny. And for more one-ups, the small Odd Eyes package, I cut it down by 1. The reason why I cut my Odd Eyes, Persona Dragon was because I replaced him with Sloth. My theory was very, very simple to understand. If I'm preventing you from going into your extra deck, why would I play a card that negates extra deck monsters' effects? That's what Persona does. He only negates extra deck monsters' effects. But the reasoning for replacing him for Persona was really simple, and it was a better replacement because now I'm sufficiently cutting you off on your extra deck so I don't have to worry about negating extra deck monsters. So this was Odd Eyes Persona, but it was a better replacement. I wish I was playing this again. But the Odd Eyes package helps out a lot. I use this card to make Vortex for the most times. There was one duel that was really clutch that I ended up winning in my main phase because I made Performing Power Gatling Goal and inflicted, I don't even know how much damage. It was just a lot. I had Scales. I had a bunch of monsters. He had a bunch of monsters. I had one set. It was a face-down Foolish Burial. I mean, I burned for so much already, and I killed one of his monsters and burned him to death. Dissolver is just... Man, it's one of the best pendulums in the game. I would never cut it. I'm mad at myself for not playing cards like Dissolver and Sloth in the past. This Zefra build definitely makes all of my other Zefra builds look like garbage, but they were amazing. They were builds I went undefeated with almost all of them, and this build just makes them look so just lackluster. We do have the one Time Gazer because you can't play Chrono without Time Gazer, not efficiently at least. It just by playing that one brick, it turns your Chrono into 3 more ways to make Electrum. But the cool thing about this deck is it doesn't actually need to make Electrum first before it Pendulum summons. Some games I would just Pendulum summon first and then make Electrum because all I really wanted to do was send like Chronograph or Sloth or Jackal King at them, and then I can use the Jackal King or the Sloth just tribute summon. Or I can just grab the Chronograph, reveal him, special summon him, and Dissolver and make my Vortex. I would do that a lot as well. So, like, you don't really even need Electrum, but Electrum does. It circumvents for a lot of the weaknesses that any Pendulum deck has, and that's the ability to grab the resources it needs first before Pendulum summoning. Then we have some hand traps. We do have 3 Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. Definitely the clutchest hand trap of the weekend. We have 2 Drone Lockbirds. You can stack any monster on top of your deck. Spoiler alert, Zefra is the best deck in the world. Their field spell can stack any monster on the top of your deck. You use Electrum's effect to draw. So you add a card from extra deck to hand, then you draw any hand trap or any monster, even a Spear Mode if you need it to be. So you don't really have that issue where you don't see your cards. You have so much consistency. You have so many different ways and abilities to grab the cards you need. On top of your searchers, you have Zefra, Oracle of Zefra, and you have your Heavy Metaphors Electrum. So you have everything to search everything. So there were even boards where, like, I think it was against Trickstars. This was an overkill board. I went all the way in game 1. Like, he let me go first. As soon as I did not get Droll and Lockbirded on the resolution of my Zefra Providence, I knew he didn't have it, so I went all the way in. My overkill board was Don Dragster, Odd Eyes Vortex, 2 Jackal Kings, going against my own theory, 2 Jackal Kings, Zefra Divine Strike, and when I Synchro Summoned for the Don Dragster, I used Zefraxi and Zefra Thubin, and I used my Oracle of Zefra to stack my Drone Lockbird on top of my deck. I used my Electrum to draw popped and I added, I think, like Perform Power Dissolver and then drew my Joel. I didn't even use Electrum's effect to add. I just used it to send. And what I sent, I Pendulum summoned that out. So it was just amazing. The Joel was already all I needed to stop the Trickstar player, but I had literally 5 negates and a Joel. Like, that was like godly. I mean, I don't know what he could have done game 1, but it's just amazing. The true Joels work. Joel's really good in this deck, particularly because this deck OTKs really fast. In fact, you don't want to give this deck a turn uncontested, especially if you have no defense, nothing to really stop me from attacking or to prevent me from hitting your life points. It's game over. Then we have the Destrudo. This card can help you to break boards. It helps you to play under pressure. Yazi does bait multiple negations. He cannot be targeted, so you can't Widow Anchor him. You know, there's a lot of things you can't do to him. And Destrudo is just amazing. And then it makes negates in the form of Don Dragster, adding that boosted ceiling to whatever board you make. For spells, we play 3 Oracle of Zefra, definitely my favorite field spell, right next to Ritual Sanctuary, which I call Las Vegas. This field spell has 5 effects. I use 3 of the 5 every single duel. This field spell is just standalone. It's just so amazing. The best effect is to stack monsters, because any monster you need, it can be Maxi if Maxi was legal. It can be Ash Blossom. I love stacking my hand traps. That's what I do most of the time. I stack my hand trap. But this allows you to search any monster in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! If it's a monster, you can search it. I don't know what deck that exists right now that can search any monster, but this deck can. It's amazing. Oracle Zefra, it gets you extra copies of all of your Zefra cards, boosts your consistency. It's really good to grab your Zefrath if you don't already have it. And something really cool that helped me to play when I played against Ultra Guys Game 2 was I normal summoned my Zefra Saiton, did not activate his effect. I activated this to search him though, and I normal summoned him. Then I played Dragon Shrine, dumped the Destrudo. I went into my Black Rose. I don't know why he didn't protocol on the Destrudo, because I believe Destrudo is a monster effect to summon itself. So I think he could negate it. I could be wrong. But I ended up going into a Black Rose, and I used my Oracle of Zefra as Chainlink 2 to stack a monster and Chainlink 1 Black Rose. He asked, how am I doing that? And I had him read the field spell. Because I synchro with the Zefra, I can do that. So he could not negate my Black Rose, even though he had the protocol. It was sad. He lost everything. And I ended up just winning that duel, not even because I could OTK him, but just because he had no more cards left. And then I started building a board. It was amazing. This field spell is really good. Then we have 1 Dragon Shrine. It allows you to turn your terraformings into Electrum Turbo cards. So now you already have those Electrum Turbo cards in your main deck. You know, you got the 4 Foolish, the Dragon Shrines and the Foolish, that's 4. You've got your Chronos, that's 7. You got your Cerberus, that's 10. And then you've got 3 terraformings plus this, that makes 14 Electrum Turbo cards just by playing this. And then it still dumps a Strudo as well. Then we have Sky Iris, super clutch. What I normally would use this on is when games 2 and 3, when I make my board, I would use this to pop my Electrum. Because I normally have Electrum plus a Vortex in either a Naruto, a Jackal King, or a Don Dragster. Sometimes it would be Vortex and Chao Feng. Like for the Goki matchup, I did that one of the games. But I would use the Sky Iris not to even make the board better, but actually to pop the Electrum so that I have 2 monsters. It's a genius idea, in fact. I did have to pat myself on the back when I did that because I won that game and he did have a Spear Mode in his hand. So you have your 5 field spells. You have 3 Optimus Prime to search out any of the 5 field spells. Because I play 5 field spells, I also opted to main deck one of the clutchest techs of the weekend, Set Rotation. My deck was so on point, super duper spicy. I mean, like, it's just such an interesting Zefra build. This helped me to play around evenly matched, and Trickstars cannot play any of their field spells whatsoever, and they can't pop it with Jamming Waves because I will negate it. This was just amazing. This alone just was so one-sided, and it helped me. Like, so I had Sky Iris to play around Spear Mode, and I had Set Rotation to play around evenly. Like, I was so prepared for what people would throw at me. I do hate that I lost 3 times, but you know what? Those 3 losses were fair. One of them I felt like I got played because of, you know, the new end-of-match procedures, but that's my fault for not calling slow playing like 10 minutes in. 3 Zefra Providence to search out any Zefra card in your deck, and it protects your Zefras from destruction. An amazing card. We have your 3 Dragon Shrines and the Foolish Burial to act as the ability to break boards going second or to be Electrum Turbo cards. So you have like a lot of good cards for going second. You do have well over 16 cards for going second. And then for our traps, I played 2 Divine Strikes, 1 9 Pillars, and 1 Zefra War. Divine Strike is the easiest to set up. All of the traps that Zefras play have a specific requirement. This one, you have to have a Zefra card on field. Not that hard to do. This one, you have to have a Yang Zing somewhere on your field. Just a Yang Zing card. It could be a scale. This one, all you need is a Zefra in your extra deck. So when you make your Electrum, you're already loading it up for this. When you use your Zefra, you're already loading your extra deck for this. And sometimes when you link with an Electrum, even if they impermanence it, you already have this loaded. So that's why I chose to play 2 of this, because I knew even if I drew it by accident without searching it, it would be live. Whereas these are a little bit more situational. But I do love 9 Pillars because I was able to negate cards that could not be destroyed by card effects, but by negating it and shuffling it, not only did I deal with its effect, but I dealt with a threat effectively. So this is a skillful negator right here. That's the main side. Is pretty I guess you can say generic for any matchup. The 3 evenlies. This is not so generic, the 3 reboots, but I didn't want to rely solely on Ash Blossom to stop reincarnation. If they could reincarnation draw me, I'd probably lose because I lose my whole hand. So this was for Trick Stars, for their reincarnations. This was for Altergeist. It was for Paleozoics, and for decks that side Floodgates. That can, if I play against a deck that I know can comfortably play a Floodgate, like especially Dracos, I would side this in. The 3 Spear Modes, I never got to Spear Mode anybody. In fact, I don't even think I drew the card, but I did side it in against Gokis. Well, that's the problem. I only sided it in twice out of my 7 rounds, and I didn't see it either game. The 3 Shared Rides, these were the Cyber Dragons. I was playing the Cyber Dragon package to help break the extra link, and then I realized I was a bad player because the day of Nationals, Topologic Gumblar Dragon came out, and I thought to myself, I can't break the extra link if I don't have a hand. Even if I can Cyber Dragon, I have no hand. So I decided to not play so many cards for breaking the extra link, because if you are letting them go off, if you can't draw them, by the way, if you draw them, you don't need Spear Mode anyways, but if you can't draw them, or Ash Blossom the Isolde, like, they're going to Gumblar your hand. And not every player was playing it, but because enough were playing it and enough were playing the Dolphin, it's just like it's not gonna resolve as successfully as I thought it would. So I just cut the Cyber Dragons. Another amazing spicy tech for the weekend was Secret Village. Again, this was amazing. This was just as one-sided as Sloth. I did actually open up with Jackal King, Secret Village, Zefra Divine Strike, and a Morphage Sloth. So I had Sloth to lock out the extra deck. I had this to lock out spells for the deck. So that's already 2 of a partial hard lock. I had a negate for anything and then a monster negate. I opened that lock against Trickstars once, and then I opened that lock again against Gokis. Game 3, one of the Gokis, I went first against the other one. They went first. And Game 3, I opened up with that. He couldn't even Spear Mode me because I had 2 monsters, Sloth and Jackal King. He literally could do nothing. Like, it was such an amazing board. I would never cut this because my deck does play Spellcasters in a hefty amount. And I can also send my Spellcasters to my extra deck via Electrum so that I can make this live. And because I control Spellcasters, it's never going to be bad for me. And then we have the 1 Droll and Lockbird, because I could have done a 3rd Secret Village, but I just feel like it was overkill. I already have 3 Terraformings and the set rotation to get it. And because like I wanted to play 3 Drolls originally, I just knew I couldn't main it. I just decided to put it in there because I knew that like there would be games where I would need desperately to open up with a Droll, and if I couldn't, I'd probably lose. But also my deck can't really main deck that many hand traps the way I have it built, because I need to have not only the pieces to make my board, but I also need to have the extra resources to waste hand traps. Like when people Ash Blossom me and, you know, infinite impermanence, I knew that I would need more than enough to make my board, so I needed more actual combo pieces than hand traps. Because of that, like the way my deck was built, I was able to, you know, get Ash Blossomed, sometimes even get Drolled, and I could keep going through that. But if I had more hand traps than I needed, and I hand trap my opponent, but they were able to hand trap me back, it would not only be a simplified game state, but I would be nowhere. I would not be able to be progressed anywhere. Like, I'll just be, you know, back to square one. The extra deck is 3 Electrums. Amazing. Made 3 almost every game. I never really make them before I Pendulum Summon. Like, one guy told me to stick to the game plan. I know that Trif does that. I don't play Pendulums the way he plays them, but I am a really, really good Pendulum player. I will not deny that. I am good. I don't call myself the best in the world or anything like that, but I am good. And my deck doesn't make 3 Electrums before I Pendulum Summon, but I still end on more Negates. My boards are better than Griffin Firewall and Vortex and a Jackal King. My boards are just so crazy. I can make unspearmodable boards with still 4 negates. I went up to 6 negates one time. And the one time I did go up to 6 negates, I admit one of them was a hand trap, but I searched it myself. So it wasn't like an accident. It happened on purpose. So I make better boards anyways, but I play 3 electrums because somewhere in the middle of the duel, when you're trying to OTK, you have to make at least 1 electrum in order to get the pressure and the damage that you need. If you can't make electrum, it's really hard to OTK, but you will be able to do it if you already made electrum in the beginning because you already have the resources you need. But what you ultimately need is the zones that grab stuff from your extra deck on summon. Then we have Zefra Metaltron, really clutch. You can protect it with your spell, and it allows you to recycle your electrums if they're engraved. If some of your stuff gets killed while it's under him, you can add this back. You can even add your Ash Blossoms and Drolls back, which I did do. And because you have Providence to protect this, they have to kill the stuff under him because they can't kill him. And then we do have Borload, one of my favorite Link monsters, just so clutch, steals me so many wins. We have Chow Fang, Gokis, and Spirals cannot play Yugioh. If they can't activate Earth Monsters effects, they can't resolve their best stuff. Put it that way. And if he dies, he searches any tuner. Destrudo, Dissolver, Ash, doesn't matter. Gotham's for the hand loop combo where you make Calamities. Then we have Cloudcasters because he's part of that combo. We have Don Dragster. Negating the effects of spells or traps is good too because when they banish Reincarnation to summon, he negates that. People really fail to realize how good this card is. And then Black Rose, one of the MVPs. Because I can even make Black Rose and play it, a lot of people just didn't even expect it. I mean, I had a board wipe that destroys every card and I didn't have to side deck into it. It's not an evenly matched. It's not like a Dark Hole or Raigeki. It destroys everything. And I can establish this to where it can't be negated unless you have a Veiler. And it's just really good. Then we have Yazi, one of the most clutchest cards ever. When you need that boss monster that can be targeted, this is the way to go. Yazi's really strong. And he clears cards as well. Then we have Calamities. Every board I made Calamities was a little bit overdone, but I felt like just by making the Calamities, I know for one, if you can somehow play through the 3 to 4 negates, I know you still can't attack me and you still can't use your monster effect. So I knew for sure that I wasn't going to get hit. My life points will remain at 8,000. That was most important to me going into games 2 and 3. Then we have Naruto, really savage. Love the card. 27, puts in work. We have Vortex. I made this probably every single game that I went first. I would always abuse one of my Electrums to get the resources for this. All you really need is just the Chrono and the Dissolver. The Chrono's at 3, and the Dissolver can be searched by 5 cards out of your deck. So it's pretty easy to go into this. And then probably my most spiciest extra deck tech was Gatling Ghoul. What he does on summon is he inflicts 200 damage for each card on the field, and then he also destroys a monster, doesn't target, and inflicts damage equal to that monster's attack. It doesn't even have to be original. It's just attack. So if you have something that's extremely boosted, you just killed yourself. And I love this card. People never expect this in Zefras. And the way that I make these cards is actually just summoning them the right way through Dissolver. That's why Dissolver is so amazing. And that is my Zefra deck profile. I went really in-depth. I hope that you guys enjoyed it as always. Definitely leave your honest opinion and feedback in the comment section below. I'm always looking forward to hear your feedback, especially when it comes to this deck, because like Herald of Perfection, this deck has a very close place in my heart, and I do love this deck as well. God bless you guys. Y'all have a beautiful day, and you will be hearing from me soon. Y'all be safe out there, all right? Peace.